Gipsy Danger is at Big Bad Toy Store, so check out the link in the description down below.
I am the ultimate Gipsy Danger.
Oh man.
Kaiju, Dragon Ball, Pokemon, and more. It's Steven's Toy Reviews. Well, collectors, it's Steven here, and we are finally at the moment I have been waiting for ever since the figure was announced. It is my review of the Soul of Chogokin GX77 Gipsy Danger. Having teased for what seemed like years that they would be able to show the competition exactly how Pacific Rim figures are done, and releasing the budget Robot Spirits line to acclaim to collectors everywhere, the first Pacific Rim figure they release is the Soul of Chogokin Gipsy Danger at $250. With such a large figure in its own scale made of die cast at such a high price point, immediately collectors were divided. Yes, this was a premium format collectible figure that fans would love, but at the same time, it alienated so many other collectors who were only set for one scale and did not have the budget for it. Regardless, it seems like everyone wants to know how this one turned out, and I have to say, I agree. I am dying to know whether or not this figure is worthy of being in the Soul of Chogokin line. So, let's drift together and see whether or not it's worth adding into your collection. Being an absolutely massive figure with so many parts involved, and the fact that I didn't do an unboxing, this is going to be both an unboxing and a review in one. Now, don't worry, folks. I'm going to go ahead and speed up the process for the unboxings. This way you don't have to sit through me talking and doing this, that, and the other. I just want to show you how everything is stored in the box. So this way, when you open it up, you can see where everything is at and where everything should be when you are taking your Gipsy Danger out of the box and all that happy fun stuff. So I'm going to let the music play while the rest of the unboxing portion goes on. Alright, now that that's out of the way, we're going to take a look at what is by far the strongest characteristic of Gipsy Danger here, and that is how it looks. Honestly, there's no other word to describe it. Breathtaking. The blue looks fantastic. The decals are crystal clear where they need to be. There are tons of smaller details that can be found everywhere on the figure, whether or not it's in plain sight, like the detailing on the con pod, or hidden away on the arms with a whole bunch of wiring that you have to move parts out of the way in order to see. It is very clear that Bandai knows that this is a robot that will go down in history, and it deserves the attention to detail that it has been neglected for so many years now. With that in mind, I'm not going to treat this like my normal reviews where I would go over every single spot head to toe and make a comment on it, because the only thing that I can say, I already said, breathtaking. So as I continue to talk about the figure and point out a couple of things, I'm just going to show you shots of the overall figure, because I would be here forever talking about all of the individual spots on this figure. We have fantastic decals on the chest where we can clearly see the lady jumping in the air, the 34s on both shoulder pads, which I'm going to be honest, they should have included one that had a 5 on it, because this is going to probably be the only Soul of Chogokin Gipsy Danger, and at one point it does get a 5 on the shoulder pad on the left arm. So there is that after it's reconstructed from Knifehead, but regardless, it's fantastic. It's tattered a bit, it's worn, it's great. We do have some gold paint application for some of the wiring. We do have red as well. There are tons of decals all over this figure, even in some of the smallest places where you wouldn't even think to look. Overall, I do think Bandai nailed the way that this figure looks, and there is not 1 ounce of slop on this figure. I have asked so many other people to find one flaw with how this thing looks, and there is only one issue. Some of the proportions compared to what we actually saw in the movie are a bit off. One being that the con pod is a little too wide for what it should be. The arms also seem a little too long. The chest seems not barrel-chested enough, and the thighs do seem a little thinner. You may say that that is nitpicking, but do keep this in mind, is this is a $250 collector piece, and at that price point, they should pay a little more attention to detail in that regard, but realistically speaking, I am only saying that on an objective basis. Subjectively, I am totally fine with how this figure looks. I don't think that they could have done any better of a job unless they amped up the scale to something that would have been much larger, and at that point there would have been absolutely no contest that they would have matched this thing 1-to-1 to the CGI files, and we would have had an even better looking Gipsy Danger. But at that point, are we really even getting something that is an action figure, or are we getting a prop replica? Right. So overall, in summation, Gipsy Danger looks absolutely amazing, and I don't think at this scale they could have done a better job. Alright, so Gipsy looks fantastic, but does not move as well as it looks, unfortunately. This is because of a balance of the die-cast parts that are used, because this is a Soul of Chogokin, Soul of Super Alloy. We have die-cast in the bicep, down here in the legs, everywhere, pretty much. So where exactly, I'm not too sure. Did the cold test, whole bunch of stuff came out cold, but regardless, you know it's made of die-cast. And there's also the lighting feature, so unfortunately, some parts are not going to have movement as well as it should, but let's take a closer look to see what we have. We do have the head, which is on a ball joint. That is confirmed. A buddy of mine did pop that off, but movement is about limited to what you're seeing here pretty much. We can look left and right. Up and down movement is very restrictive, similar to the NECA. So in this regard, movement here is going to be pretty much the same. So you can't really get Gipsy Danger to sort of hold the plasma caster off to one side and also take a look, or swing the chain sword, which you'll see in a little bit, and also look off to that side, so that is a bit unfortunate. Now, of note, the reason why I have the plasma caster attached is that you're going to see just how fiddly Gipsy Danger can be in terms of articulation, and there's also a difference in movement when Gipsy is or isn't using the plasma caster. So that is how you see how the head moves. Now, we're going to move over to the shoulders, which are kind of interesting in terms of movement. The shoulder pads are, remember fiddly? The shoulder pads are on hinges, so this way you can move them up and down if you would like. And the reason for that is that the shoulders themselves are on hinges as well, so this way you can move Gipsy's arms in and out. Unfortunately, sometimes they can get stuck, like you're seeing the right arm here, not really wanting to go back in, so you got to move stuff around, and there we go, finally it goes back in. So the arms can go in about that far, out about that far. We're not really going to get a T-pose out of this Gipsy Danger, which is unfortunate, and then there we go. One more time, we got the arm stuck, even with basic movement, and you can clearly see that's happening with the right arm, but not the left, so there's something going on there. We do also have a swivel, and oh, wait a minute, arms blocked, but interestingly not over here. Wonder what's going on there. Well, you see, aside from that swivel, on the back here, we do have some parts that do block the articulation, but also at the same time, once moved out of the way, because they do have their own range of movement, they no longer block the articulation. So these little parts, I don't know exactly what you would want to call them, back here do have their own swivels so they can move, and then these parts also have ball joints so you can move them out of the way. They also pop off with ease, so keep that in mind when you're moving Gipsy around, that parts are going to fall off. Then we have the wings, as they're called here. They are on hinges and they can move out of the way. That helps with swapping out the battery, as you're going to see that in a little bit. Anyway, back up to the front, so we do have the arms that move like this, and then they do have the swivels, which once cleared out of the way, again, fiddly, lights turn on, and way to ruin the moment for the reveal in the accessories section, Gipsy. Anyway, as you can see here, as I move the arms up and use that swivel, you can see that panels on the chest are moving. That's a unique gimmick to Gipsy Danger here. Sometimes when you move parts on Gipsy, other parts will move due to how things are just connected into the body, which is really nice to see, and robot junkies are going to love that, but other people, maybe that could have been sacrificed for a little more quality elsewhere. But we do have traditional bicep swivels. Now we're actually moving on, right? And as we move down, the normal arm has a double elbow hinge. So that's nice to see. The plasma caster only has one hinge, which is very, very limited. And the one fingertip area for Gipsy, for the plasma caster, on both arms, is very difficult to pop in and have it stay in because it does pop off with ease. And also, the one panel that reveals the battery hatch likes to pop off as well. So keep that in mind when you do have the plasma caster attached, that is something you're going to have to fight with. Then, of course, we do have the wrist articulation, which is a ball joint. As you can see here, it moves around. And then there's a hinge there. So that's nice. Another point of movement for Gipsy Danger is that the forearm pieces are also on hinges that you can move around. So this way you can reveal the internal workings. And also allow for a little bit more room for the chainsword. This part is there as well. You can also move all of the parts up a little bit more if you'd like. And then you can move this down. So Gipsy can elbow rock it with what limited articulation it has. So unfortunately, can't really lift the arm up, but you can get Gipsy's forearm to go into elbow rocket mode. So hey, if you want to display your Gipsy Danger like that, you can. And you can reveal more parts in the arm, which is fantastic to see. Now, for the midsection articulation, this portion here where the reactor is, very limited movement forward and back. You can see that this abdomen area is attached to the chest. So as I move forward and back, you can see that that part is moving alongside it, and we don't really get any side-to-side movement up there. For the waist joint, we can get a little bit of rotation. Not too much, but the real magic there, side-to-side movement. Why that's more important than twisting and turning like that, I don't know, but we do have it. Be careful of scratching up paint or plastic when twisting and turning from side to side. For the hips, we do have die-cast on die-cast connection here, and you're going to be able to move the legs up about that far and back. There we go, lights went out. About that far, but the joints are extremely tight and they feel like they're going to snap off. So be careful there. We also do have movement out about that far for the splits. Something that a lot of people have been missing in their reviews is that there is a thigh swivel, though it is a bit limited. Continuing on down from there, we do have a single hinge knee, which does move the panel on the thigh, does move on pistons there, and then there is another hinge that moves there. The reason why I isolated that, we do have a double hinge, is that traditionally when you're moving Gipsy, you do have the one hinge that moves, and then when you go to move the second hinge, we have a panel that moves there to reveal more pistons and whatnot. So that's cool to see. So as we just go ahead and put that one hinge back like normal, that's what it looks like. So it does reveal more parts. Of course, you can always close that up if you want. You can be a killjoy, but yeah, Gipsy does have a couple of more hidden parts there. Moving on down, we do have traditional ankle rockers on ball joints, so you can twist Gipsy's ankle and turn it around as much as you'd like. And the heel portion back here of Gipsy around the ankle, that does move up and down on a hinge to accommodate for articulation forward and back. We do have a toe hinge, and they heard that we like toe hinges so much that they did, as you can see, include a toe hinge on the toe hinge. This one is rather tight on mine. This one is rather loose. So yeah, we do get some nice movement with Gipsy Danger here, but do keep in mind that some of the parts are definitely going to be fiddly, and unfortunately, some range of movement could have been redesigned a bit more. Like they included a feature to have Gipsy use the elbow rocket, but it can't really hold the pose. And there's really no reason for the way the head moves because it's actually just reflecting light up in there and shooting it out. Yeah, I don't know. So the articulation is understandably limited, but at some points I question as to why it is limited. Another issue with moving the arms around, I'm careful about it now, but the way that the arms swap out, as you'll see, is you do that. So if you're looking to maybe pull on the hands a little bit to get in a pose, or maybe move the arms out just a little bit like that, or you're just moving the arms up and down, on occasion you may just pop the arms out. So do keep in mind as you're moving Gipsy Danger around, it can be fiddly. All right, now we're going to take a look at the accessories for the Soul of Chogokin Gipsy Danger, and I have got to say, Bandai really did go all out here. Well, for the most part, not everything for Gipsy is included. And when we get down to the nitty-gritty, they didn't include an effect part for the elbow rocket. And there's one other thing that I'm not going to mention until later that they didn't include. But what do we have here? We have a Soul of Chogokin display base for Gipsy Danger, so this way it can support it up on display by its crotch. We have 2 different types of chain swords, and we get 2 of them for both the left and the right arm. We get 2 plasma casters for the left and the right arm. We get 3 total sets of hands, fists, splayed, and hands to hold the boat. Yep, they included a full-size detailed boat in scale with Gipsy Danger. Pretty much everything you see here is exactly what Gipsy needs. You know what would make it better? A light-up feature, which is also included in the chest, the head, and in both plasma casters. So we've got a lot to take a look at here, so let's get down to business and see how everything works. First off, we are definitely going to take a look at the hands because that is the easiest thing to start off with. And as you know, they are on ball joints, and the only thing that you have to do to swap out the hands is just grab them like you would any other hands for a Figuarts or Figma, whatever, and pop them off at the ball joint and then take the new hand and insert it in at the wrist. Just make sure you're being careful popping them in because we do have plastic parts here and you don't want to crack anything. Like I said before, we do get the fists, which the only gripe there is that they filled in any of the gaps in the fist with plastic, so it's kind of not like other hands where the fists are all closed together with the fingers, but some will be upset about it, others won't. Not a big deal. We do get splayed hands, so this way if Gipsy is in an action pose, you can have that if you would like. And then we have hands that are splayed out even farther, so this way Gipsy can grab onto the boat and swing the boat around as if it were a sword or a club, depending on your view of the world. And they are clearly different from each other, the main difference being that the hands to hold the boat have the thumb off to the side. So this way it looks like Gipsy can hold the boat with that hand. It's also a hand that can be used to catch the fist if you want Gipsy to be in that pose, like when it's first launching, when it's about to fight Knifehead in the movie. So keep that in mind. Now, taking a look at the boat, the detailing is very nice, the sculpted detailing that is. Unfortunately, the paint work is very, very minimal in that it looks like a model kit that was snapped together. So the colors are very bright instead of being weathered and battle damaged like there would be the boat from the NECA Ultimate Gipsy Danger. But that aside, the boat is absolutely in scale with Gipsy Danger here. There is clear battle damage in terms of the sculpt because there is a crush mark where Gipsy would be holding the boat. We do see the life preservers. We can actually see where windows might be for the different docks and whatnot on the boat, different turbines and engines and whatnot on the boat. We do have the gold propellers on the back of the boat. Everything looks wonderful in terms of the sculpt. Like I said, no paint. It does look cheap, but at the end of the day, it gets the job done for a boat. And the way that Gipsy would hold it, you do have the finger marks here at the end of the boat, which all you have to do is just line it up and get Gipsy to hold it, depending on which hand it's in, which takes a little bit getting used to. Be honest, I don't really have it down just quite yet, and there you go. Gipsy is holding it like that. Another thing that you can do if you would like, though I wouldn't recommend doing it because it might stretch out the hand over time, is you don't actually have to have Gipsy hold it at that crushed part up top. You can have Gipsy grab the boat anywhere. As you can see here, though, it is putting some stress on the arm, and it may fall off. So keep that in mind. We do get 2 hands to hold the boat, so if you would like to use the other hand for more support, I would recommend it because, you know, laws of physics do apply, and over time that may weaken the joints. So do keep that in mind. So overall, if we do get Notachi at some point, this will be a fantastic accessory to use with Gipsy Danger. And of course, if you would want to, you can have Gipsy just hold it by the tip and drag it along, just like that. That's very easy to do. Next up for the accessories, we're going to take a look at the plasma casters, and I have to say that they have the same amount of fantastic detailing as Gipsy does itself. We can see all of the individual wires that make the plasma caster work. We can see the turbines that would normally turn to make the plasma caster fire off. We can see the individually sculpted fingers. Everything looks absolutely fantastic, including the clear tip to let the light through, which you will be seeing in just a little bit. Overall, the plasma casters look fantastic, though the fiddly bits, you'll see how it's done in a little bit to put the batteries in. It's a bit unfortunate that that is the route they decided to go. Now, like I showed you before, the way that you swap out the arms works with the articulation almost backwards. So let's see how that works. So the way that it works is you pull out the arm just by simply pulling. And as you'll see closer on the arm, there's actually a little disc that has a little notch on it. And that lines up in with the arm. So the left arm parts and the right arm parts are meant to specifically go in there. You can't swap them and mix them up because they'll look really weird. So once you have that all lined up, it'll take a couple of tries to get it right, and eventually you'll get it right on the first try. And there you go. Now Gipsy is wielding the plasma caster. Now the way that you get the light up feature to work is there is one notch on the back here, which can be difficult to pull because, again, you're going to have that happen. And then once you do pull it, congratulations, Gipsy now has the plasma caster all lit up. Unfortunately, in the studio lights, it doesn't look too fantastic, but once you have it in a dark corner or whatnot on your shelf, it is going to look nice. The light will stay on for as long as you have that little segment pulled out. And next up for accessories, we do have the chain swords. We have 2 for the left arm and 2 for the right arm. The chain swords are going to basically be identical, they're just doubled up, and the way that the chain swords look would be described in one word: great. They look sharp. The one whip version looks very rigid, almost as if you could use it as a saw if you want, and overall the faithfulness to detail is great. What would have been really cool, though, is if for the whip, we would have gotten one that looks like it's being launched out straight, and another one that had a curve in it like Gipsy was when it was fighting up against Otachi all the way up in the atmosphere, because, let's face it, it did look a little dangly, and it wasn't straight. So 2 of the same, I understand that, and $250 they could have afforded to just throw in one extra dangly-looking one. But still, it is what it is. Be advised that the tips of these are very sharp, so you can use these as an actual, like, knife if you wanted to, so be careful there. And the way that you use them, well, you can use them a couple of different ways if you want to slide them in. They're both going to be identical in that way, but you can use it somewhat more accurately, and you can pop out the forearm parts just like so. Or you don't have to. That's just the way that I prefer to do it. And then there's a little hole in there. You take the peg on the chainsword, and then all you do is you just slide it in like that. And now we have Gipsy Danger ready to avenge Mako's family. Last but most certainly not least, we do have the Soul of Chogokin Gipsy Danger display stand. And here's where I'm going to be a little bit controversial, I guess you might say. I'm not too happy with the display stand. Reason being, it's kind of bland. It doesn't look like a hanger. It doesn't look like something out of the Shatter Dome. It looks like something you would use for an action figure, which I know that's kind of why you would have it, but at the same time, this is something that's going to be monumental in the kaiju action figure scene that we need something really cool for a display stand. And the way that it works, simply put, is it's, well, you just line it up by sliding Gipsy's junk in there, and that's it. Yeah, Gipsy is held in there pretty well. Not too bad. I mean, it works, but just taking a look at the overall display scene, it's kind of, well, there. It doesn't look majestic. It doesn't look fantastic. If we would have gotten more of a hanger or chain display base, it would have looked nice. But I think at the end of the day, it does get the job done. The Soul of Chogokin Gipsy Danger nameplate on the front of it is nice to see, but they do make other products, Bandai specifically, and other companies do make products that do look a little nicer fitting, but you know, it is a display stand, so at least we did get that. Overall, it does work and it does get the job done, but I do think that closer to a Shatter Dome themed one would have been nice to see here, especially for this premium format collectible. Now, the one thing you have been waiting to see, how the lights work. Well, for the main body of Gipsy Danger here, what you first have to do when you get Gipsy Danger is you're going to have to pop the back plate of Gipsy Danger off, which can be a pain because there is one clip on the bottom of the back plate and the one that slides up underneath the towering collar of Gipsy Danger. Once you pop that off, you have to unscrew the panel that's there. You have to drop in the batteries, which are L41 batteries, by the way. We do get 7 of them in total. And then you have to put the panel back on, reattach everything, and you're good to go. Keep in mind that it was a real pain for me to get the batteries and the back plate in, so you're going to have to fiddle with it for a little bit. Once you do that, all you have to do is press the reactor on Gipsy Danger, and then you're going to get Gipsy to light up. It goes in a whole cycle from standard to orange to blue, flashing, and all that fun stuff in a standard way. So that means that it's not going to be customizable. The lights will stay on for a total of about 3 minutes and 5 seconds by the timer on my watch. Yeah, I was able to get it down to about 5 seconds on there. So that's pretty cool to see. Now, something to keep in mind is that you can't keep this on continuously. So if for some reason you would like to have this on display the next time you watch Pacific Rim, or if you just want it on while you're reading a book or whatnot, you're going to have to get up and hit the button again approximately every 3 minutes, which is a pain because the plasma caster, which works just by removing one of the finger parts, then removing one of the turbine and cord parts, unscrewing the part, dropping 2 of the LR41 batteries in that you do get with Gipsy Danger, and then reattaching everything, that just is activated like I showed you before by pulling on the one part on the forearm. That stays on permanently until you hit that back in and it turns off. So, yeah, that's pretty upsetting. By the way, it's just not the reactor that lights up. There are 2 lights on the top of the chest just below the chin that stay lit as well. Those are white lights, and then the con pod lights up as well. Now, it's pretty difficult to see all of these different lights in the studio lighting, so here's how everything looks in the dark. One other thing that I didn't mention is that we get one very small claw accessory to go with Gipsy Danger, so this way it helps you move the switches on and off on the back, insert the batteries, and, I don't know, help you pick something out of your teeth if you'd like. It's literally listed as auxiliary tool in the instructions, and it really isn't that important, so if you lose it or you break it, don't worry, you can just get a toothpick, or if you have fingernails, you can just do it that way instead. So overall for accessories, I really think they nailed it with the Soul of Chogokin Gipsy Danger here. Pretty much the only thing that would be missing would be an effect to replicate the elbow rocket, which even then we do get some movable parts in the forearm and the elbow area, so this way we can actually have Gipsy Danger in that pose if we would like, despite the articulation not necessarily being favorable to have that pose be made on the shelf, which is, upsetting. But overall, we get the fantastic display package of Gipsy Danger here, even with the light up features, which can be a little better. What they should have done was had one setting be blue, one setting be orange, one setting be red, one setting be a constant cycle through, etc., etc., instead of just having one light up feature that lasts for about 3 minutes. Another thing that's a bit upsetting is that the official North American solicitation for Gipsy Danger is, and I quote, "This Pacific Rim Gipsy Danger GX77 toy features both illumination, lights up in 3 places, and sound effects for weapons and the startup sequence. Included with the figure are 2 sets of hands, a ship, 2 chain swords, 2 chain whips, 2 plasma casters, a stand, and instructions." Unless there's something that I missed, there is no way to get this thing to make sounds, which is a bit disappointing. But realistically speaking, we have our own speakers for the soundtrack, so that's not necessarily needed. In sum, the accessories just make this Gipsy Danger figure great, but I do think the stand is a little weak. It should have been Shatterdome themed. Now to wrap up the review, finally, it's a size comparison with some other kaiju figures you just might have, along with some other general figures that might just be on your shelf as well. As you can see, Gipsy Danger is very large, coming in at around 9 inches tall. Yeah, it's a big figure with a whole bunch of features in it. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Gipsy Danger next to the SH Monster Arts Biolante? Gipsy Danger is $250, features a ton of articulation, a bunch of lights, and a bunch of accessories. And Biolante at about $230 was a Kyoto model kit that Bandai took the molds of added in articulation and just had two very wimpy light up features. So diecast, lights 250, SH Monster Hearts 200. Someone's not playing around with prices. Yeah. So, buy now, skip, wait for a deal. I have to say that overall, the Solo Chogokin Gipsy Danger is a fantastic display piece. Absolutely, end of discussion. This is the Gipsy Danger figure most of us have been waiting for in premium action figure format. If you're looking for something that can go toe-to-toe with something like the SH Monster Arts line or even fit in with the other Robot Spirits Pacific Rim figures that are on the market, this is not going to be the figure for you. However, if you want what is going to be probably known as the ultimate Gipsy Danger figure, I don't see how any other company is going to step up their game to match this. This is going to be the figure for you. If you love Pacific Rim, if you love Gipsy Danger, get this. That being said, there are limitations with this figure. The articulation is a bit limited, and there really isn't too much of a reason for that. In some areas, it just seems like they didn't go the extra mile. And I'm not talking about the spots where there could be cords and whatnot that might be severed if you push the joints too far. That also being said, I feel like there are some really tight joints in some spots, and there's not a whole lot of die-cast to justify the $250 price tag. At the end of the day, I do think, like I said, this is a fantastic figure and something every Pacific Rim fan should at least hope to have in their collection. But at $250, I really don't feel like this is worth that much. At about $200, I think that is the spot where we start to negotiate whether or not you should buy the figure. Again, don't get me wrong, this is great, but I do think Bandai definitely wanted to charge a bit more here so this way they could get every penny that they could. If you're looking to get this figure, I would recommend waiting for this to dip down in price right to the point where you feel comfortable paying for it, because at about $250, not so much. But that being said, please Bandai, please bring on the other Maniagers from Pacific Rim. I'll pre-order them day one. Well, folks, that's the end of this review. Thanks for watching, and be sure to follow me on social media to catch more behind-the-scenes shenanigans and updates. The end card should be popping up now with more hand-selected STR goodness for you to watch, so check out some of those videos. Be sure to check the description, too, to see where you can buy this figure or others like it, and some cool links, like the credits for this video, and other ways you can help out the channel. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch ya in the next video.